like the truth. Like we, you know, we had a really rocky relationship, and we met because I was dating another person, one of his friends, and we weren't even dating. I was fucking 16. Like, I wouldn't call it dating because I was a, you know, fucking kid, but I was dating one of his friends, and he was walking his dog, and he had a crush on me, and like I could tell the boy's dad did, and he was like, "Hey, what's up, Jamie?" And then I was like, "What's up?" And then that was it. Like, we ended up fucking being together or whatever. But it went both ways, you know. We were young, and we like fell in love because of our similarities. You know what I mean? Like, both of our parents were on hard substances. My mom and his, and both of our fathers were alcoholics, and you know, we bonded, we fucking bonded because of that, really, you know. And so it was just like, I feel like we instantly were like in love, you know what I mean? But because we didn't have love, I don't know, like we didn't have that kind of love, so I just feel like we bonded because of that. I got pregnant. As soon as I got pregnant, he did not want to have a baby. He was just like, "No, I do not want a fucking baby. Like, no, like, get rid of it." And I was just like, "Dude, okay." And I told my mom, I was like, "I love him so much that I would do anything for him." And my mom was like, "Listen to what you're saying." She was just like, "Listen to what you're saying, because you love him so much, but you would hurt your own baby." And I was like, "Well, no, because people explained it to me like, oh, it wouldn't be hurting your baby, you know? Your baby's small," and right? And so I had my mom drive me and him to Planned Parenthood, and it was like over an hour and a half away. And so I was in the back seat, and and he was in the front seat with my mom, and I had a lot of time to think, you know, on the ride there. My mom gave me brochures about what an abortion was, and I read it, and I was like, oh my God, you know. Still went into the place, and they gave me a little tiny baby and told me, you know, like, this is what size your baby is. And I was like, oh my God, you know. And my mom was like telling me graphic of what they would do, which is truth, you know. And if you believe in it, you believe in it. It's not my fucking what I'm trying to say. But after I thought about it, I was like, okay, you know what, I'm not gonna do that. And I got back in the car, and he was like, "Is it done?" And I was like, "No, I didn't do it." He was like, "What the fuck? What the fuck, Jamie? We agreed." I was like, I swear to gosh. I was like, I did, but I changed my mind. I'm not gonna kill my baby for you. If you don't want to be with me, then I'll fucking leave you, dude. I'm keeping my baby. And then, you know, it was really hard because, you know, his mom, I did not have a good relationship with my mom, you know? And so I went and I was staying with his mom. His mom let me stay with her. And then one day he fucking busted open his mom's window, starts kicking me in my stomach, was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, Jamie?" You know, that's how our relationship was. So, you know, it was like, but still, because of my fucked up mental, you know, I was like, oh, I love him so much. I'm not gonna, you know, but my mom was like, "Jamie, you gotta get the fuck away because you're gonna end up losing your baby." You know, so I called my brother, and my brother lived in Idaho. He still lives in Idaho. And my older brother, and I was, you know, 16, and he came to California, and he met my boyfriend, and I told my boyfriend, like, you know, well, we broke up and we're separating, you know, like, and, so, whoa, go, of course, I'm not gonna run you over. And so, you guys, I'm gonna have to do 2 parts of this, but, so we ended up packing all my stuff in my brother's car, which I don't remember how much it was, but my brother drove me back to Idaho, and, you know, with the idea that I'm gonna get off the drugs, because I was still, you know, fucking around with drugs, you know, because that's how I grew up, you know, really, and I blame that. I know some people learn, but I really didn't. I lacked that capacity, like, you know, that it's my responsibility. I was a child and I felt like I lacked everything. Went all the way to Idaho. When I got to Idaho, I was so in love with him. I just felt like I would have done anything for him almost, you know, and fucking crazy, you know. But he was already, you know, showing signs of controlling and abuse and stuff like that. And at that point, I wasn't crazy at that point. Like, I wasn't hitting anybody back or nothing like that. Like, these motherfucking men made me crazy, and they did, because, you know, it's just what happened. But I get to Idaho, and, you know, all this time goes by, and when I went into labor with my son, about a week before I go into labor, I find him and his sister, and me and his sister ended up really bonding. I mean, I love his family, you know, and we ended up really bonding. Sorry, I'm trying to get my speed up, okay, relax. And so when we ended up bonding, you guys, and like I said, I'm gonna do a part 2 because I have to. But so I call his sister and I say, hey, I just want to let your brother know that I kept the baby and it's a boy, and I'm gonna be giving birth in a week. And you guys, I just turned 17 in December, and I had my son in February. And you know, my sister-in-law was like, I want to send you some stuff for the baby, and she did, and that was really nice for her, because I was a kid, you know, I didn't have shit. Like, I didn't have a lot, you know. And whoa, freak. So sorry if I can't focus. This whole thing is stressing me the fuck out. But I ended up, you know, he ended up getting a hold of me and calling me and saying, like, I'm sorry, like, whatever, and like, you know, let's work it out, and like, I shouldn't have done that, whatever, and you know, I'm sorry, like, move to here with me and move to the state that he was in, and you know, like, you know, we'll try again, and like, it's gonna be different. And like, we talked about, you know, raising our kids differently because what we grew up with, and you know, the lack of everything and all of that. And so that's what happened, right? And so I moved to where he was living at with his dad, and instantly he's extremely controlling. And you know, instantly that's what happened. He was extremely controlling. But we worked it out. He would go to work all day and I stay home with the baby. And you know, I felt like we really tried. We were really young, and we really just were so young, you guys. And then very soon into us being together, I found messages from who he's with now, or who he's been with, which I'm still fucking mad about, because I'm like, that's so fucking scandalous. But I found these messages that said very graphic details on them. And I was like freaking out at that point, because I was like, what the fuck? Like, he was like, oh, she's my best friend. She's my best friend. And I was like, I don't want you to have a best friend that's a girl. Like, you wouldn't even let me talk to a guy if he was my friend. But you want to have a girl best friend and be hanging around her alone? I was like, that's crazy. So right away, he was like, oh no, it's nothing. You know, we're just joking. But it was so graphic that there's no way they were joking, you know? And that's kind of how our very first 6 months of relationship began. And it was just way too much. You know, he was extremely controlling. He still is extremely controlling. But I loved him. And, I mean, I felt like he loved me in his own way. So, you guys, I ended up going to college. And that was a whole nother video, because my mom was on drugs and wouldn't sign my college papers. She couldn't. She could never get sober long enough to sign my papers. So, I was already in college, and they already knew my circumstance. But, like, it got to a point where I wasn't going to be able to continue if she didn't sign the papers. And I was, like, so close to 18 that it was like, you know, please, Mom, sign these papers. So that was a huge hiccup, you know. So eventually I get the paper signed. I go through the college. I get a job. I'm working, and I have my son. I end up pregnant with my second son, so close to my first son. And, you know, it was just, they're 21 months apart. So it was like, whoa, you know, what are you doing? Like, you can't have another child. Like, what the fuck? But I was so young, and I was like, no, it's going to be fine. And, you know, and then we had our second child. And again, you know, he was addicted to certain things, like magazines and certain things. And that always made me really uncomfortable, because it just always made me think, like, I'm not good enough. Like, why do you need to look at them, like, when you could look at me, and that kind of thing. And it was just always a problem for us, because he would do it to the point where it was, like, unhealthy, you know? And there were many other things. But one day, this guy came to sell a vacuum, okay? And I was so fucking young, and I had my baby, and I didn't know, you know, vacuum salesman. And this was a vacuum salesman who was like, this vacuum is the best vacuum, and you need it for your baby. Your baby's not going to be safe if you don't have this vacuum. And I was so young and dumb that I was like, oh my God, we need it. We need it. And so I told my boyfriend, just sign it, babe. Just write a check. And like, he at any point could have said, no, we're not doing it. But instead, he said, okay. Anyways, I literally got my ass beat for that vacuum. Okay. And on that night that my ass got beat for the vacuum, I end up stabbing him in self-defense.
New SMS.
Which is the fucking truth. Like, God knows I know. And, of course, if I could redo it, dude, I would have never done that. But I was like, please get away from me. If you come closer, I'm going to stab you. I wasn't, like, serious, but it just happened, and it did. Boom, there you go. I know a lot of you guys are, like, waiting on some juicy tea. So, I'm not smiling about it. It's fucking super sad, but I just remember. And it's like, man, it happened so quickly. And then the next thing you know, I go to juvenile hall, and my mother-in-law helped me. She did. You know, she helped me. She let me do fucking, I had to have them, like, fucking, back then we had a home phone, and they had a home phone, like, nailed to the wall, and I was on fucking house arrest when I was, like, you know, I don't know, 18 years old. And they were like, well, she's only, I was either 17 or 18, but I was really young. And they were like, well, you know, she's so young. And then I had to go to court. So I when I tell you I've never been charged as an adult. I never have. This was when I was a minor. But when I went to court, the baby's dad said, you know, we had a no contact order. And he said, oh, well, she's pregnant from me. And the judge was like, what? You violated your no contact order? So that's how I ended up with the fucking charge, right? I'm going to do a part 2, guys.